So this is also going to be a debate. And the name of the talk is From Hype to Action, Unveiling Web3's Strategic Role in Luxury Brands' Futures. And I'm going to welcome Blake Lazensky to the stage, Partner Program Director for Outlier Ventures. Woo-hoo. Marjorie Hernandez, Founder and Managing Partner of Luxo. Welcome to the stage. Shirley Valge, COO of Velas Network AG. Welcome, Shirley. I'm going to welcome myself, Nova Lorraine. I'll be joining the panel, author, designer, and editor-in-chief of Rain Magazine. Woo woo. And our awesome moderator, Alice Stork from In Crypto Land. Mic check.
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Welcome to a panel today from Hype to Action, Unveiling Web3 Strategic Role in Luxury Brands' Future. This is, as you know, like super hot topic right now with adoption coming into for luxury brands and luxury brands going to Web3. So we gathered here experts today to tackle in this hot conversation. And I'd like to let you guys to introduce yourself briefly. Tell us what's the company you're working on and how do you currently use applications for your operations. Blake, let's start with you.
All right.
I'm a minority on this panel.
It's a pleasure to be a minority on this panel. Thank you so much. I'm Blake Lazensky. I'm the Partner Program Director at Outlier Ventures. And what I primarily do is focus on running the accelerator with the Farfetch Group that is fully dedicated to using Web3 technology in the luxury sector. And sometimes even introducing that technology because some founders might build something that meets a very important need in the luxury sector, but they might not think of themselves as a fashion or luxury project. So to go back to your original question and maybe mention some specific examples, currently we run the second edition of the program. The first one was a huge success. One of the teams you might have heard about from that one is Team Metaverse. They work actively with Chanel. They're currently exhibiting at VivaTech. And they also got the LVMH Innovation Award recently, so it's quite a visible case. But in the current program, the specific implementations that we focus on, one is all around community white label spaces with a project called D-Commerce. Essentially, we've realized that if a brand is hosting their community on socials, not only they have to pay for a reach, but they don't get any data analytics out of it. They know nothing about how their community can be segmented, what are the different power users of that community, on how they can engage them. Another example would be Me Protocol, which is a infrastructure for cross-redemption of brand awards, because about 60% of loyalty rewards go unused. But if people could trade it, essentially trade the points for other types of points and pull them together, that way they can maximize the use. Another example would be Neto Labs. It's a way to make positive net zero impact with every transaction you make in the luxury sector, so both the merchant and the consumer becomes more greener. We also support Numbers Protocol. Numbers Protocol created blockchain infrastructure that tracks the provenance of digital media in the era of generative AI, which means they can distinguish something that was created by a human hand and something that was generated, as well as reward people that were part of that generation, because as we all know, generative AI doesn't invent stuff, it just remixes stuff of other people, but we want those creators to get rewarded for it. Then there is Spin Fashion, also exhibiting at VivaTech, who is enabling retail-first circular business model with the use of digital technology. And last but not least, Woven. It's a dedicated CRM for the creator economy in Web3 that can tell any brand or creator who exactly are the most power users, who are the biggest collectors, and essentially reach out to them and engage them in a custom way. So I think I've been speaking for long enough, so I want to hand over to my fellow panelists.
Yeah, a lot of going on, yes. I know at Luxus and Marjorie also runs a lot of operations, so please could you tell us about applications in your organization?
Of course, with pleasure. So my name is Marjorie Hernandez. I'm the co-founder of Luxo and also the co-founder of the Dematerialized. Luxo, we've been around for a while. We started working on it in 2018. We published a white paper titled Blueprint for a New Creator Economy, basically when we explore how blockchain technology is going to power this amazing amount of incredible, unstoppable applications. And we're really focusing and centering our efforts around the creator economy. So effectively, Luxo launched a couple of weeks ago on May 23rd. We launched our mainnet, and together with that, an array of smart contract standards and interfaces in order to enable creators and brands and the such to interact with the blockchain and basically create applications, create profiles, issue products, and all of that kind of fun stuff. And we've been thinking about it for a long time. My co-founder was an essential part of the Ethereum ecosystem from the beginning. So we really hope that that edge that we have from our experience of the last 10 years is manifesting in like really valuable propositions for the open source community and everybody around. And we are strong believers that most of the key pieces of technology in our space should be open source. So check it out, luxo.network is live. And besides that, I co-founded the Dematerialize around 2.5 years ago, out of a passion for dematerialization. And we saw like this latent kind of like trend emerging from digital assets, kind of like leaving the gaming world exclusively and like merging in other environments. And obviously, through blockchain technology, for the first time, we have the ability of having these assets existing outside of the silos of any given game or server. So I wanted to do something that was directly to the user, right? With Luxo, our mission is very clear and it's very strict. Everything is open source. We're meant to disappear in the background. But with the Dematerialize, we really want to do something that brings, these fantasies and these dreams that we have around Web3 directly to the user, right? And the center of the Dematerialize from day one was how can we make Web3 really easy to use and really accessible and kind of like remove the fear that a lot of people had around actually buying and doing things. So I think that Dematerialize really success, that there's a huge community of people that purchased their first NFT ever over the Dematerialize, and now they're like super really maximalist in the space and really believing. And through our user journey and the way we design the application, we really managed to do that. So really focusing kind of like on the utility of the NFTs, which right now is really popular, but back then utility was not so much of a thing. Like you were buying NFTs primarily for speculative purposes, but in our case, we really want to make this into an experience. It's a product that is upgradable, that is fun, that is meant to give you access to enable all of these things and make you part of a community and bring you closer to those creators that you really love and enjoy. So that's what the Dematerialize does. So I do wear two hats, one that is very kind of like open source and one that is a bit more commercial, but then my days are never boring. So that's the great thing.
In crypto, they never are.
Yes.
And you should guys check the items there. The designs are really cool. I would buy it too. Shirley, tell us about Velas and how you guys applicate Web3 fashion.
Not just fashion. So we're at Velas, a technology provider, but also an infrastructure, an ecosystem of decentralized products. So we launched early 2019, but our founders go way behind, like 2013, that they're in the crypto space. And 1.5 years ago, we launched a partnership with Ferrari, and this is where this luxury niche came into play, where other companies from jewelry business, fashion business, reached out to us also for their Web3 strategy, system of records, on-chain, NFTs, and we launched an NFT labs with the industry's best experts from the community building side, which is very important, from the arts space, and also from the technology side. So within that, we also put together a team and acquired partially an existing metaverse team. So we do have our own metaverse product, which is right now orientated to multi-brand like automotive. So we've been working with Maybach Foundation, besides Ferrari, as well with other car brands, which I cannot disclose yet. But this is basically a garage which connects all these luxury automotive brands, as well as enables access to their own dedicated metaverses. And this is where this interoperability and cross-chain compatibility comes into play, which we are focusing on. And And within hackathons, which we've participated in Switzerland specifically, we're based out of Switzerland, we've collaborated together with Richmond Group that owns over 20 luxury brands. So we know the needs and problems there, and we developed some tools within the hackathon over 3 days, where basically a tool which allows everyone to authenticate the NFT if it's coming from a valid source, because also with NFTs you can never be sure. They can be sourced from hackers or scammers. So we built out a tool as well as the carbon footprint of the supply chain from the production to until it reaches the customer, and yeah, this is our experience.
Sounds awesome. Thanks, Shelly. Just sorry to interrupt for a second. Can I do like rock concert with people on the back? Guys, hello? People on the back? Woohoo! They don't even hear us. Sorry not to be like a bad person, but the networking area is behind the door. Could you please maybe speak less loud? Thank you. Sorry. Yes, so back to our discussion. Sorry, I will give now the stage to you with introduction of applications for your operations.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Alice. So I'm Nova Lorraine. I'm a fashion designer, advisor, and strategist in this space. And one of the projects that I'm excited about, because everyone in this space are working on multiple projects, as we can hear, is the House of Nova. And with that, it's bringing together Web3 technology and couture, and bringing fashion forward as art and art as fashion. So in terms of Web3 technologies, we have, of course, your smart contracts. So creating smart contracts around the ownership of the art, and as a verifier to then get the fashion item that's within the art piece made in the physical, and then collaborating with spaces to bring those designs into a 3D immersive environment in which the avatars that are entering into those environments can wear the digital version of that design. So it's going from 2D to NFTs to 3D and then physical. And so that's the cycle. So looking at a new model of circularity. And what that does with the digital designs and digital fashion, what that allows is for on-demand production. So you're able to gauge what the audience wants, what your community wants, what they're really excited about, and maybe some items it's just to collect and keep in their wallet. Maybe some items they want on a canvas and on their wall to add decor to their spaces. But then maybe they want to wear, not just on their avatar, but wear those same items in the real world. So that's what I'm doing with the House of Nova, and I also work with other brands to help bring their products into the Web3 space, and or help them design items that would be viable to move into NFTs or digital fashion as well. And one other area that I'm working on is more on the educational side. I'm super passionate about education, and that's why I'm here on stage and hosting and everything else. And one of the things that I'm working on is a book called The Fashion AI and the Digital Age of Fashion. And that's a snapshot of where we are right now in history, covering all the things that we're covering on stage, looking at everything from XR to AR to AI, blockchain, sustainability, and how are all of those things impacting fashion, and where are we going to go in the future? So that's me.
Thank you, Nova. That sounds amazing what you're doing. And maybe just to dive into our next question so we don't roll back to the discussion. So you were talking about how Web3 impacts on fashion and sustainability. So what do you think can be implemented to increase it? Like there is the whole circle from NFT to producing digital on demand, as you mentioned. My question is, the physical good will be recycled too?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, going back to that, how do you think we can implement the technology more to actually address the question of sustainability with raising demand right now? I think some people buy some like fast fashion clothing only to post pictures on Instagram, for example. So right, with this huge social media and image need, how could Web3 fashion address these matters? You think, like, can we use some AI to generate? Can we do like try-ons? What is your outtake on?
Yeah, I love that question, especially because these technologies can have a great impact. And I'll start with some more known Web3 tools. You know, if we're looking at on-demand production, thanks to digital fashion, where it's predicted that about 15% of our wardrobe will be digital. So get ready, guys. If you haven't started collecting yet, start collecting, because these digital assets are predicted to be even more valuable than physical assets in the future. But it's the physical assets that's adding value right now to those digital assets. And so when we're looking at fast fashion, and part of what's driving that is the need for individuals to express themselves in photo on social networks, where we're going to have this digital expression be more in immersive spaces, and on the digital version of yourself may be a fantasy version or may be your digital twin. And so you're going to see digital fashion helping impact the carbon footprint, because more and more people are going to opt to purchase digital fashion and wear digital fashion, may be on their photograph in an AR capability, or it may be on their digital avatar. So then now let's look at supply chain management, and you mentioned AI, and I'm going to touch on generative AI. So we have AI, and it's been around for a while, but thanks to ChatGPT and DALL-E and Midjourney and many others, we've seen AI and generative AI dominate the news in the last couple of months. Well, AI can help fashion and sustainability in 3 areas. When we're looking at raw materials and collecting raw materials, we can match the suppliers with the designs and identify more sustainable suppliers, more ethical suppliers when we're producing goods. We also can use AI to reduce energy usage as well as water usage. So in terms of being more efficient on our workflow as it relates to supply chain management, it's effective there as well. Moving into the center part of the pie, where you have internal infrastructure, where you can minimize repetitive tasks with the use of AI. You can increase design output. So there's a project with Google where one company produced, I know, hold on to your seats, 40,000 designs now. I don't know how many of those are going to be made, but 40,000 designs with generative AI. Now, is that good or bad? That's not to be judged, but the fact that you can increase your amount of output from a production standpoint, and then you can identify what textiles are going to be most sustainable with that particular design. So that's pretty awesome. And then personalization, where you can increase the user experience by seeing what's best for them and creating that from a personal standpoint. You mentioned virtual try-ons. So think about your smart mirrors, either having it in your home or in your retailers, where you don't even have to get undressed, which is something I hate doing when I go shopping. And you can see what fits. And what it does, it reduces the amount of returns that you're going to have in the space as well, which means less items ending up in landfills. And last but not least, just touching a little more on generative AI, where it's going to help brands tell better stories, faster, more personalized stories, but then also use that as a tool for on-demand production and trend forecasting, as well as adding new revenue streams to their business models. So you can have a digital-only product line, you can have a digital and physical product line, and you could have a physical where you can opt in through access, through your NFT, to now get that also as a digital asset for your immersive experiences.
Sounds very exciting. I don't know about you guys. Marjorie, what do you think, what other potential trends can be implemented in future?
Well, I think, Nova, we can all go home now. You said it all, no? But no, fantastic. I echo so many of the things that, and I share your thoughts as well. Yeah, I mean, I think what else can be done? I think, you know, there is no secret, and I think we're all very aware that the world we're living is drastically changing to a complete new reality, and we know within our lifetime things and products will look very, very different. I ran yesterday into a friend, and we start talking about plastic, like how our grandparents live in a world that was pre-plastic, and then plastic is now everywhere. Hopefully it's going to reduce the amount. But then when we were born, digital products were not there. And then this is what we're heading towards. We're going to have an insane amount, a multitude of digital products. The reasons, as Nova, you very eloquently said, like basically we are going to spend just more time in digital environments, and we all been predicting it. Futurists have been talking about it. Last week we saw the keynote from Apple, and we know it's a reality, right? So I think that terms of like your personalization, the customization, your experience, where do you share, where do you spend your time? Kids who are now 7, 12 years old, they live in this world already. This distinction between digital and physically is not for them as dramatic as it is for somebody born in the 80s, like it is for me. So I think, what is the opportunity? The opportunity is basically everything that you can imagine, right? Everything that we are producing in this physical world will be required in the digital world, and even more so, right? Because our physical world has certain rules based on gravity and other stuff, and we're moving to a world where the propositions are limitless. So I think for the opportunity for brands and creators, I think that the biggest thing and the part that makes me the most excited about the work that we do and the stuff that motivates me to continue doing this job is effectively we're going to have creators emerging from all parts of the planet. For the last, I don't know how many centuries, we will have talent really. It's been centered around, the northern hemisphere and developed countries and so on, and we have been missing on all the talent that exists in so many other parts of the world, just because the access to supply chains or the businesses was limited to certain specific geopolitical locations, right? And now through this democratization that comes through the access of technology, we know we're going to have creators emerging from everywhere, right? So I think the biggest brands in the world, we haven't seen them yet. They're about to emerge. And if I will be running a luxury brand right now, I will be really nervous, because normally you do really well right before you start doing very well. So I think, I think that's the part that I think is the most interesting in terms of like the shift. And we are all living in this world that has very clear dynamics, but I think those dynamics are about to radically change, and I think the power dynamics of like what constitutes a luxury group, what constitutes a brand, is just around personal IP, and when I have the ability of producing, I don't know, hundreds of iterations within a day, and manufacturing has been automated, and I can forge my physical product any moment through automated manufacturing, is what is a brand then, because so far has been so much about controlling who controls manufacturing, who understands the supply chain, who has access to these things, and these things are about to disappear. So I 100% agree with Noah in terms of like, right now, digital products kind of like they have a massive added value by the fact that you can potentially access a physical product, but I think 100% in the very near future, like my physical stuff is in my apartment in Berlin, right? I cannot take it with me everywhere. Like Ferrari, amazing, but how difficult is to take your Ferrari with you, even if you are traveling. But these digital products are with you at all times. They're your real sort of value. That's the thing that you actually have, that you can show in all times, in any environment. So I think, rightly so, we're going to have this amazing amount of creators emerging, and I think that's where the opportunity is. That is going to be such a big change.
And to maybe have a question towards that, as we discuss sustainability, do you guys think it's important, well, I'll maybe first address to you, do you think it's important to moderate then this digital production as well? Because if anyone can create like digital goods or NFT collections, and we are now generation native, and then with age maybe we will have problem of sustainability in digital world.
Yeah, 100%. We're going to have digital pollution of products, right? And I think we need to introduce in digital products the notion of a consumable, right? Not all products need to last forever. Like there are certain things, when I buy a lipstick, I know I'm going to use it and eventually it's going to be empty. So I think we need to introduce the notion of consumables and basically NFTs that after a specific amount of times or blocks on the chain, they will burn themselves. They will self-destruct, and potentially you as an user can do an action to keep them alive. You're like, no, wait, I really, really like it. hold your horses. I want to keep it. And then you as a user, you actually have to do something and you're interacting with your product, right? So I think that's are the things that we have to introduce. Like not every NFT you're buying to make money. Not every time we go to a shop, we buy a blouse because this is going to retail in 5 years really well, you know? So I think there's products that you buy just for fun, just for using, and they don't have to last forever. So I think it's very important that we start designing these systems in a way that we can anticipate what's coming. Like you said, we're going to have pollution of products that nobody needs, and then, you know, somebody has to maintain it. Like servers are running, right? They're invisible servers that we never see, but we know they're there. So I think that's things. And I think once we introduce these notions of like very interesting dynamics in terms of how the products are designed, then we can mitigate a lot of those issues a priori before they become a problem in the first place.
Okay, thank you. And in terms of then these potential implications, what is investor points on this, Blake? Please tell us how do you see like which maybe niches in Web3 and fashion are more promising at your point? Like is it more traditional powerhouses or is it more young uprising luxury brands that needs investors?
So I think for context, right, we see three things happening at the same time. One is that large luxury brands, they're still quite risk averse to the technology, but they start understanding the strategic and bottom line benefits of using it. So actually, if you can give them a transition period, some people call it Web 2.5, but it's actually about having the benefits of Web3 technology in the backend, while the front end is a UX that doesn't make you feel as a user that you need to be super educated with Web3 and crypto paradigms. That's the thing that happens on the level of like large legacy luxury groups. At the same time, you have smaller brands that can move super quick and they can be really inventive just because they're fresh to the market and they're a small organization, they're more nimble, and the capital structure around them allows for quick decisions. The third thing that is happening, and very slowly but surely, we're going to see an emergence of designers and luxury brands that I would say are digital first, and only then they start converting to the real world. And I think that throne is still yet to be taken. It's going to be very interesting to see in the next, let's say, coming months. When to talk about specific opportunity areas that we see as investors that we also feel address real problems of the luxury and fashion industry and enable amazing returns and benefit everybody from founders, brands, and also investors. One field of opportunity would be what we call the luxury data economy. So essentially, anything that helps the luxury brand understand the customer better, either through combining Web2 and Web3 data streams, maybe integrating Web3 data streams with legacy CRMs, or maybe entirely reinventing what the CRM is in a Web3 paradigm. Because in the luxury sector, the value of knowing your customer is unproportionately larger to other sectors when you can sometimes go for numbers, but in luxury, it's always quality over quantity, not only with products, but also with the customers. And if you know them better, you can tailor your offer, you can customize it, and as a result, you can cater to them better and keep them more loyal to you as a customer. The second field of opportunity that we see, we call it community and content experience. So what it means to be part of a digital community, how those communities get formed, how they interact in the digital space, and what it means from a perspective of user experience to be part of that community. And finally, how we can realign the incentives around creator economy to enable new modes of co-creation and maybe even new modes of content delivery. I think mixed reality is a very good example, and everybody is currently focused on the hardware, but actually mixed reality can lead to the emergence of a new type of content and a whole new type of content creators. So we want to be there for it, we want to provide the tech that facilitates that. Another area of opportunity that we're seeing is infrastructure that enables the growth of digital fashion. And I often use the comparison of like an apple to an apple tree. So when I see a digital NFT collection, of course it's amazing and it's a delicious apple, but it doesn't make the space bigger for everybody. It's kind of a symptom of the space. But if you invest in infrastructure that makes the space bigger for everybody and enables more people and more diverse talent to enter the space, that leads to the maturity of the whole sector and kind of de-riskifying it. So if somebody comes to me with an API that enables digital transactions at scale, that's the apple tree, which enables the apple that would be a digital NFT collection. The next field of opportunity, I would say, and we touched upon it, the sustainability. how we can make the industry more sustainable through Web3. And of course, I very much agree with Nova that moving to digital fashion, eliminating the pollution, using AI in the design process and maybe prototyping and reducing the waste that gets created as part of it is all very relevant. It's all very relevant. But another aspect of the sustainability angle, the way we think about this is actually product-centric, is how can we use blockchain technology and maybe even less novel use cases, but more standardized use cases to enable more people to participate in the life cycle of a luxury product, maybe at different price points. For example, if the industry is about to get there, but if we get to the moment where the digital infrastructure is fully standardized, then actually it enables circular business models, it enables second-hand luxury, it enables, I would say, rental luxury, all thanks to the verification of provenance. Finally, I would say the whole industry starts understanding sustainability in a different way that is centered on the customer habits as well as on the product life cycle. And of course, all of this is underpinned by mixed reality experiences. I think at this point in the commerce, in the culture, when myself or any of us as a customer, if we just wanted the luxury product, we can purchase it online, it gets delivered in a nice box, we can even do a video when we open the box. But if you want to go to a store of a luxury brand, you're not going there to buy, you're going there to live an experience.
For champagne.
For champagne as well, which is part of the experience, right? And right now, I feel that for legacy brands, this is where the new axis of competition will be formed. What kind of experience you can provide to your brand audience that extends into the new digital platforms, extends into new communication channels, essentially giving another life to the brand IP and consolidating the brand audience around them. Because for luxury brands, the brand IP is the most valuable asset they have, and the community around them, their audience, is what makes that asset valuable.
Thanks. That's an interesting point. Shirley, maybe you could share us, how do you think, like this question that IP rules, how could it be potentially handled in Web3 community when it's like the brand who owns the IP, but community is actively participating, just to like maybe your ideas?
When I bring as an example the Ferrari case, then over half of their revenues a year is made with merchandise and the IP rights licensing. So it's a perfect field for the Web3 adoption, utilizing NFT technology, metaverse, and different blockchain gamification elements. So when we have been collaborating or brainstorming with these legacy brands, their main agenda is to increase revenues with new funnels, attract and retain Generation Z or the younger audience, because especially like in Ferrari case and F1 space, the audience is aging. So the old ways of marketing don't work for the new generation who doesn't even own a TV or doesn't watch a TV or doesn't consume paper media. So you need to attract them in through different means. Also there are some functional and practical benefits on adopting the NFT blockchain technology. So when we have spoken with the watch brands, their biggest problems is how to fight counterfeit products, and also how to make sure, exactly as you mentioned before, to know your customer, because a lot of these watches in the secondary market are even more expensive, but they don't have any value from the secondary sales. So through the NFT technology, the watch brands are able to integrate the royalty, so they will have a perpetual revenue stream from the secondary and third market and further sales, as well as following and tracking the customer behavior, making sure it's a loyal customer, which they're always trying to guarantee. And these three elements, like how to attract new generation, how to authenticate the original products, and increase the revenue streams, have been our main aspects on bringing the Web3 into those legacy brands.
Thank you. And what do you think, is it like luxury brands audience who go into Web3 with implementation of all of these applications, or do they try to attract and address Web3 community, or do they bring the existing clientele to Web3 by integrating all these tactics, and how we can take this adoption and maybe grow both of these communities to a next level in future?
Yeah, we always had two different strategies. So one was to adding value for the existing customer and clientele with adopting the technology, but also bringing the crypto and Web3 community over to these old traditional brands by collaborating with existing crypto artists or collectibles like CryptoPunks, Bored Apes. So these are use cases which help you adopt new audience, which might be your future customer.
Thanks, Mark. Do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there is always that dilemma, right? Like you don't want to lose like your brand identity, and you don't want to be untruthful to what your brand is by utilizing tactics therefore into your existing customer versus how can I address the new user and the user of the future. So I think it comes down like you mentioned very rightfully so, like we have seen like luxury brands collaborating with artists from the crypto space and things like this. But I think it comes down to understanding like beyond a short-term kind of like collaboration that is driven by a marketing strategy. I think the proposition should be, how does the brand IP translate to a world that has a different dynamic, because the materiality of the object is not as important anymore. And how do we translate that brand IP? So I think that's a more long-term strategy that is potentially has like a 5 years timeline instead of a 9 months marketing strategy. But I think it comes down to that translation. And I think when we talk about Web3, obviously we do think about people like ourselves who are like crypto people who've been collecting NFTs and trading crypto for a minute. But I think the truth is that eventually every user on the web is going to be a Web3 user, right? So it's just a matter of time and adoption. But Web3, you won't have Web 2 forever and Web 3 forever living in parallel, right? Eventually, we don't talk about Web 1 anymore, right? Like, so eventually we will all become Web 3 users. So it's about making sure that you stay truthful to your brand and that you translate that IP into something that is long lasting. And maybe you don't. And then do a new brand, man, do something else. Like whatever, it's fine. Like I don't think everybody will survive, and I don't think they have to either. And I think that's totally fine, but I think it comes down to translating that IP. And I think one of the bigger risks are that you start like having a Frankenstein version of your brand because you believe that's what's gonna address the new generation. And I think that's kind of like the biggest risk that we face right now.
Thanks, Marge. Nova, do you have your ideas for mass adoption?
Yeah, I think that eventually all these terms that we're throwing around on stage are going to disappear. So that's the first thing. Secondly, user interface is going to continue to become more familiar. So more and more companies are switching over to what we already easily use, which are email logins, and you'll be able to just enter your email and a password, and now you've purchased an NFT. It's gone into a wallet, which you don't have to hold. The brand would hold it for you, or third party. And then if and when you want to transfer that over to your own ownership, you can. And so it's a very seamless process. I think right now people get stressed out when they hear about the terms and, oh, I need to download a MetaMask and all of this. And so as we see our governmental systems also continuing to ramp up on the digital side of things, they're also going to create interfaces that are going to be more seamless. And then we're going to be seeing both a public interface in terms of our digital assets and where they're stored, and then our private interface for more social and digital expression use cases. So I think one, the semantics, just changing the language, so we're all speaking the same language, echoing what you're saying. And then the user experience as well, changing that so it's more accessible. There was someone speaking earlier, they were making a version that their grandmother can use. And this is a term that I've seen, or a conversation that I've seen come up in the last couple of conferences, testing your product.
It's been years.
Yeah, can grandma use it? So I think we're seeing that direction, because if grandma can get on and buy an NFT, then everyone can. So I think that's what's gonna help.
Yes, so time.
But I kind of disagree, though. Like, I don't think grandparents need to be able to buy
Yeah,
this
because
stuff.
you target more on Gen Z.
It's fine.
I think it's
you
more
know?
the usability standpoint. It's really
But I think
testing
It's a
yourself.
test.
Yeah,
it's a
but I
test.
think, but then I will test it in somebody very young, like those kids who can use an iPad and watch Peppa Pig. If they can watch Peppa Pig, then they know how to click and do stuff, then I will test it on them. Because I think, like, we don't need to try to morph it into something that is not, right? Like, do our grandparents really need to buy digital assets right now? Very likely not, you know, like, it's very far from who they are. They were born in a different time. It's okay, you know, but I think like it comes down to like, we understand that this is like a progression that is not only technological, but it's also cultural, and it's being built for somebody that is not even for ourselves, right? Like even I am 37 years old, and I'm almost already too old because I was born in a world that TVs, you have to hit them on the top sometimes, you remember? So, you know, I think it's fine that not everybody can use it, but I think the people who should be able to use it, then they should use it. And if my son can buy an NFT, which he does, clearly, then I think we will be fine.
But I also wouldn't call it then mass adoption. It's basically just still innovative audience, that young people who just try on naturally all the things. So like mass adoption in general is when everyone can use it, doesn't matter of your tech savviness.
But we do consider the internet to be mass adopt, but there's still 3 billion people which don't have access to the internet. But
they
we
don't
consider it
They
mass
don't
adoption.
Okay, the hot part started. Don't leave. They don't have access to it. It's not that they cannot use
Yeah, but
it.
then it hasn't been mass adopted because they don't have access, right? If that's the proposition, if you say everybody. So I will say at what point is critical mass, right? So I'm more concerned about people between 0 to 21 years old who don't have access to the internet. That for me, I find that very concerning. That my grandmother, who's not alive anymore, but if she cannot buy an NFT, I don't find that concerning.
I think it comes down to the user experience. And if the barrier is too high because it was built for an engineer or a coder, you're not going to get mass adoption. So yes, our younger generation, they can use iPads and cell phones. Some can, not all. But I feel that at the end of the day, if you have a game of hopscotch, everyone can play. So it's more making it accessible where everyone can play. I think we are close to time, so I want to thank our amazing panelists. And Alice, I don't know if you have any.
Thank you. No, I don't know, maybe if we have like question in case 1, 2, anybody has questions to our panelists? No, all clear. Okay, well.
Maybe if I can also bid on the previous points of our fellow panelists to just make a
Sure,
quick point
just
about
very shortly.
adoption challenges. In the short term, I think you got it spot on. It's about utility, because luxury is always a utility in a social setting. And the most beautiful wearable, the most perfect avatar, if you cannot show it to anybody or be with it anywhere, there is no value in it. In the longer term, I believe the core challenge that we need to solve is not actually technical, it's the alignment of economic incentives around interoperability. How all those virtual worlds, mixed reality platforms open up. What's the financial reason for them to do so beyond altruism? And finally, and I think we also touched on it, in that context, how the brand can retain control over how their IP gets represented in all those different contexts. Because sometimes if I translate a Louis Vuitton bag to Roblox, they might not like the aesthetics. They might say, this is not how we want our asset to be represented. And those are all challenges that are still yet to be overcome.
But I think they have to let it go, you know, because they cannot control if I put a bunch of pins in my Louis Vuitton bag, if I have bad taste and glue a bunch of stuff on top of it. So they have to let go of controlling the digital space.
We're gonna
We
have
need to take this
off
fight outside. Who wants to follow us, please do. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.